Welcome. I'm Diana Waring, and I'm glad you're here. When it comes to homeschooling, do you ever feel like you're living in survival mode? Like just barely surviving? Like that yellow school bus is looking more and more attractive? I understand. So how do we get out of that survival mode and into abundant life homeschooling? Let me tell you a story. When I was pregnant with our oldest child 30-some years ago, a friend gave me a book that would literally change my life. It was called Homegrown Kids and was all about the radical concept of teaching your own children at home. I sat down and read it and thought, yes, this sounds fabulous. My husband, Bill, a public school teacher, had some serious doubts. But by the time our little boy was ready for school, Bill was also convinced that it was the best choice for our family. I was so excited. I even found an old-fashioned desk at a garage sale for $10. I had a little American flag, a set of books, and an apple. On the first day of school, I handed Isaac the apple and said, "Here, you give this to me." He looked puzzled and asked, "Why?" And I said, "Because I'm your teacher, and that's what you do." He said, "Okay," and he handed it to me. I remember the night before we started, I was going through my list for school when I suddenly realized that I had no idea how long recess was supposed to be. I panicked, and I asked Bill, how long should recess be? I wanted to do it all right. Are you getting the picture here? A desk, an apple, recess. What I was doing was creating a little school at home. I'd been to school for years, and I knew what school was. Books, teacher, schedule, desk. At least, that's what I thought at the time. And then we began. Isaac was so excited to start school. He was an eager, curious child, raring to go. So we opened the first textbook and started reading through. I gave him the assignment, the worksheet to fill out, and I saw him begin to wilt a little bit. And then it was on to the next subject and the next textbook. On and on it went, day after day after day. 1 month into homeschooling, Isaac had gone from an eager learner to a kid slumped across his desk saying, "Mom, do we have to keep doing this?" And I was slumped across the kitchen table thinking, "Oh, I hope not." I thought that I'd bought the wrong books. Obviously, they were the problem. Not interesting enough, not enough pictures and color. But I'd blown the school budget for the year, so we went back to what we'd been doing, reading books together, taking nature walks and playing with Play-Doh. Isaac had a great year, but I was feeling pretty guilty. The next year, I purposely found brighter textbooks filled with pictures. We started off both eager and enthusiastic, but within a month, it was the same glazed eyes, the same "do we have to keep doing this" attitude. I was ready to quit the whole thing because I didn't want to ruin my son's life. And I was getting really tired of carrying all that guilt and failure. When I went to Bill, the professional teacher, and I told him I couldn't do it anymore, he said something I'd never thought of. He said, "Let's pray about how to do this." I never thought of doing that. But the wild thing is that after we prayed, I began to run into books and people who deeply challenged my assumptions. The first was the book For the Children's Sake by Schaeffer Macaulay. She described this amazing approach to education that was far richer than anything I had ever experienced, except in college. She articulated concepts and ideas that spoke to my mother heart, validating all the ways I naturally interacted with my kids, and she called it education. The second was meeting a family of homeschoolers who created an environment for learning that was so rich. I watched as the parents and children talked about everything from baseball to ziggurats and did all kinds of hands-on learning for all kinds of subjects. Just to walk into their home was to be enveloped in this wonderful atmosphere where learning wasn't limited to textbooks and tests. This began to change how I viewed education and homeschooling. we started playing with what we were learning. We'd read a book and then talk together about what they were thinking. My kids would learn about an event in history and then put on a puppet show to depict that event for anyone who came into our house. We did science experiments with dry ice that were so much fun that my kids were begging if we could keep doing school that day, and so much more. Once you start seeing education as really learning about all kinds of things, the adventure begins. There's no limit on what they can learn and how they can play with it. That's not survival mode. That's abundant life homeschooling. If this is resonating with you, come visit me at dianawaring.com, where we have books, audio CDs, and curriculum to help you take the next step of this journey into learning. See you next time.